Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're working with a really interesting stack of sources notes from quite a revealing conversation, actually.
Yeah, and we're going to explore the life of someone you probably know, primarily as a soccer legend.
Right. But her story, as these notes really lay out, it goes so much further than the goals and the championships.
Definitely. Our mission here in this deep dive is to unpack all those layers, the identity shifts, the challenges she faced.
And that powerful sense of purpose that seems to define Abby Wambach's life now, since she, hung up her cleats.
Exactly. Well, look at what she learned from some pretty significant stumbles, how she sort of redefined success and family.
And this whole movement she's building now.
So get ready. There are some, frankly, surprising insights here about what drives someone like that, a world-class athlete.
And maybe more importantly, how they navigate the world when the cheering finally stops. Let's dive in.
Okay, so for ages, Abby Wambach's name just meant dominance, didn't it? On the field.
Totally. 2 Olympic golds, a World Cup, highest all-time goal scorer.
Yeah.
Just an absolute icon.
An icon, yeah. That public identity was huge. But what's fascinating right from the start in these notes is how she talks about her relationship with soccer.
Oh.
Even from way back. It wasn't always this, simple love affair. It was, well, the word used is complicated.
Complicated? That's surprising for someone that successful. What made it complicated?
Well, she talks about fighting against soccer being her only identity, her whole reason for being. She resisted that for a long time.
Okay, I can see that.
Plus, there was the pressure, just the sheer pressure of being so naturally gifted. The notes actually say she wanted to quit repeatedly.
As a kid.
Wow.
Wanting to quit when you're that good, that's intense. Was there something specific that kept her in it then?
There's this really specific story about her brother, Andy.
Oh.
He apparently told her flat out, "You can't quit. You've been given a gift." He basically framed it as this responsibility, like a superpower she couldn't just ditch.
So that external voice was key, especially when she was young.
Absolutely crucial, it seems. And then you think about the sacrifices, right? Young athletes make huge sacrifices.
Oh, yeah. Being away from family, missing proms, birthdays. That's a lot for a kid.
Especially for something that wasn't even a guaranteed career path back then, not like it is now.
Right.
And according to these notes, she didn't truly, fully give into the game until the very end of college.
Only then. When a pro path looked real.
Yeah, when she could actually see a professional future.
So that deep dedication, it came later, once the potential was, tangible.
Exactly. And looking back now, she doesn't just see the soccer career as the end goal.
No.
She frames it more as this beautiful platform, something that gave her the foundation, the ability to step into her next chapter.
That makes sense. There's this clear idea in the source material, isn't there? That having that kind of platform, that privilege she earned.
It comes with a responsibility, a deep responsibility to use it for something bigger.
Right. And speaking of that next chapter, that period right after she retired in 2015, age 35. It sounds incredibly tough.
Oh, it was. The notes describe it as a year that just brought her to her knees.
Wow.
Yeah, not an easy transition at all. But what's really powerful looking back through these notes is how she came to view failure during that time.
How so?
Falling flat on her face, as she puts it, or failing multiple times. She says that actually produced some of the best things in her life.
So failures weren't setbacks to hide.
Not at all. She calls them the vertebrae that kept her purpose straight. Failure wasn't defeat, it was like realignment.
The vertebrae keeping her purpose straight. That's a great image. And this sounds connected to a distinction she makes between happiness and fulfillment.
Absolutely. The sources really push back against this cultural idea that everyone is just, afforded happiness.
Like it's a guarantee.
Yeah. Happiness is framed more as a result, something often fleeting, not a constant state.
Whereas fulfillment, that's different.
That's what people are really after, she argues. And you find fulfillment in challenges, through hard work, which, let's be real, isn't always peaches and cream.
No kidding. It's about engaging deeply, even when it's tough, and getting something meaningful back.
And the sources. They're very clear about the toll, the physical and psychological price of being an elite athlete.
Constantly pushing into the red zone?
Always. Dealing with injuries all the time. She mentions breaking her leg, almost never feeling 100% healthy.
That kind of constant physical stress, the pain?
Mm-hmm.
The notes explain how that led to needing pain management.
Which then led to prescription meds and eventually using alcohol, too, as a way to sort of disassociate, to feel normal outside that intense bubble.
And That whole lifestyle kind of spiraled.
Yeah, unfortunately, it turned into what she openly calls self-medication and abuse.
Such a difficult thing to face. And the decision to be totally open about it in her memoir in 2016, that sounds like it was absolutely vital for her.
Crucial for her healing, her transition. The belief seems to be that secrets, especially with addiction, are just toxic. Openness was the only way.
Which brings us to the DUI incident. She calls it the worst thing that happened.
But also the most necessary. It was the brick in the face, she says.
Because she hadn't been listening to the whispers.
Exactly. Those earlier, quieter warnings her life had been giving her.
What were those whispers, do the notes say? Any hints?
It sounds like the subtle stuff she was brushing off. The increasing reliance on substances just to cope. That feeling deep down that something wasn't right, even with all this success.
Right, so the DUI forced her to confront it.
Couldn't ignore it anymore, and facing it openly was her way of dismantling years of shame built up from using secretly.
And she actually expresses being proud of making that choice then. To face it head on, sober.
Which, I mean, that's a massive challenge, isn't it? Imagining a sober life when your whole world, your social scene, was tied up with drinking must have seemed almost impossible at first.
Yeah. Definitely. And then, wow, just a month after the DUI.
A huge turning point, meeting Glennon Doyle.
The notes really pinpoint this as the start of finding love and sobriety, like together.
Yeah, hand in hand. Glennon's influence is highlighted as really significant, especially her shamelessness, her commitment to just telling the truth.
And there's a funny bit of irony in the notes, too, right?
Yeah. The first time Abby actually heard Glennon talk publicly about their relationship starting
Was on the same podcast conversation these notes were from.
Exactly. Talk about full circle.
It also shows this wasn't some secret relationship. They were figuring out how public to be right from the get-go.
Yeah, the notes mention this ongoing conversation they have, balancing sharing their life publicly. They see it as art that can help people.
But also protecting the family's privacy. That's got to be a constant negotiation.
For sure. And stepping into that relationship also meant becoming a co-parent to 3 kids.
Right. And the sources make a point about her language there.
Yes. The intentional choice not to use stepkids. The aim was always to create this big, modern, beautiful blended family.
That takes serious effort from everyone, doesn't it? The notes really highlight the role of Glennon's ex-husband, Craig.
Absolutely essential, according to the source material. How he acted, what he said. It basically gave the kids permission to love Abby.
How did he do that?
By treating her well, speaking highly of her even when she wasn't there.
Yeah.
Just creating this safe space where the kids felt okay, even encouraged to embrace her.
That's incredibly big-hearted.
Yeah.
And clearly puts the kids first.
Totally. It stresses this idea that all 3 parents are focused on the kids' happiness and well-being above everything else.
And you see that in things like taking family trips together.
Yeah, all of them. Craig, Glennon, Abby, the kids. So the children never feel like they're missing one parent. It's about wholeness.
There's also that Carl Jung quote mentioned about the unlived life of the parent, influenced by Glennon. How did that fit in?
Yes. The Jung idea is that a parent's own suppressed desires or unlived parts can unconsciously shape their kids' lives. So in this family context, it seems to have helped frame the divorce differently. Like, it doesn't have to be just this negative thing.
With conscious effort.
Right. With work
Yeah.
and prioritizing the kids, it can be navigated in a way that's actually healthy and positive for them.
Sounds like a huge undertaking, but she calls it the greatest adventure.
And there's that lovely anecdote that just perfectly ties her past and present together.
Oh, the coaching story.
Yeah. Coaching her daughter Tish's soccer team. Abby Wambach, the legend, is coaching.
And one of the little girls asks what she retired from. Abby says soccer.
And the kid just blankly asks, "Do you know Alex Morgan?"
Laughs slightly. It's perfect. A sign that she's not just the soccer icon anymore, she's Coach Abby.
Exactly. That quiet shift in identity.
So, building on that personal healing, the sobriety, the new family, the notes then show Abby turning her energy outward again, finding a new public purpose.
Yeah, and a key moment was that Barnard commencement speech.
Described as a real flag-in-the-ground moment for her.
Definitely. It was really influenced by the political and social climate around the 2016 election, which felt scary to her.
It pushed her to want to wake up and stay awake to things like sexism, racism.
Realizing these issues people thought were maybe fading were actually, well, roaring back.
And that speech, and the book that came from it, introduced the wolf pack idea. Interesting name, right? Seems kind of masculine.
It does, but the metaphor behind it is the key. It comes from the reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone.
Ah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, they were initially feared, right. But bringing them back actually changed the whole ecosystem for the better. They controlled the deer, vegetation came back, rivers stabilized.
Ecosystem salvation, the notes call it.
Exactly. And she sees that as a metaphor for women's power. When women's collective strength isn't, tamped down, they can change the world's ecosystem too.
And finding her own wolf pack, her supportive group, helped her find her voice.
Her voice and her purpose. The Wolfpack book itself is framed as kind of a playbook or a game plan.
For women dealing with everyday sexism and misogyny.
Yeah, offering awareness, but also practical tools.
And this grew into her company, Wolfpack Endeavor. What's the focus there?
Taking that elite mindset and teammate mindset from sports into the corporate world, specifically to champion women in leadership roles.
Why the corporate world specifically?
Because, as the note suggests, that's where so much of our culture gets set. Her mission is clear. Use her platform not just to point out problems, but to bring solutions for equality.
And she connects empowering women to bigger global issues too, right?
Yeah, things like microloans, and she cites stats about educating women and girls being crucial for combating climate change. The idea is when women lead or have resources, they invest back into their communities.
A really key point about all this work, though, is just the value of awareness.
Absolutely. Even if you're not ready to be a full-on activist, just being able to see and name sexism or bias when it happens, that's a huge first step.
And she shares that personal story about her agent.
Yeah, her agent, a man, calling her out because she automatically assumed a professor he mentioned was male.
It shows bias is everywhere, even in her, while she's doing this work. It's a constant learning process.
And that process, confronting bias, seems to link back to her own past with religion. Catholicism specifically.
Right. Growing up, she felt she had to choose between God, like the church institution, and choosing herself.
Which created real trauma. She describes becoming a raging atheist because of it.
Until Glennon helped reframe it.
Yeah, Glennon offered this perspective that choosing herself was choosing God, because God is within you, not just in the building or the institution.
That sounds like a huge shift, even as an adult.
A massive revelation, apparently. And the notes also touch on the complexity with her mom, whose faith is still very deep and sometimes conflicts with Abby's life.
How do they navigate that?
By stressing respect, understanding different perspectives shaped by time and belief, but still allowing for gentle challenges to those perspectives.
So the overall approach for navigating these tricky isms and differences
Seems to be leading with curiosity instead of judgment. Obviously, there are non-negotiable injustices, but for a lot of the more subtle, maybe unconscious biases.
Curiosity opens doors for conversation where judgment might just slam them shut.
Exactly. So, pulling all this together from the deep dive, how does Abby Wambach define a good life now?
It's framed a lot through being a parent, isn't it?
Significantly. The definition that comes through is about treating yourself with respect, finding joy, working hard.
And, importantly, not taking life too seriously.
There's also that daily practice she mentions from Glennon, pillow regret.
Right. Making choices during the day so you don't regret them when your head hits the pillow.
Viewing it as a way to actively avoid those bigger deathbed regrets down the line.
It also involves deliberately putting energy into health, into relationships, recognizing they need work.
Yeah, they don't just maintain themselves. And a big learning point mentioned is allowing for humanity.
In herself and in others.
Yeah, including giving people you love space to just feel difficult things without feeling the need to jump in and fix it immediately, which was apparently a tendency of hers.
So the ultimate goal now, the aim of her good life.
It seems to be about leaving the world a little better for her kids, in her own way, contributing something positive.
Okay, so let's try and unpack this. We've journeyed from, the roar of the stadium crowds.
To the much quieter, sometimes messier work of rebuilding an identity, facing addiction head-on, completely reshaping what family looks like.
In launching this whole movement aimed at changing systems. It's quite the arc.
It really is. And the core insights that stand out from digging into these sources. 1, failure isn't the end. It can actually be foundational. Her experience really hammers that home.
2, fulfillment seems like a much more sustainable, meaningful target than just chasing happiness, which can be pretty fleeting.
And 3, the courage to be open, truly honest about struggles, even very public ones, that can lead, perhaps unexpectedly, to deep healing, to love, and to finding a really clear purpose.
So what does all this mean for you, listening? Her story really challenges that idea that you have to be just one thing, right? Defined only by your job or what you did in the past.
Yeah, it highlights the courage it takes to choose your own path, to redefine success, redefine family, even when it's complicated and means wrestling with difficult parts of your history.
Maybe a provocative thought to leave you with, and this comes straight from the source material we looked at.
What breaks your heart? Think about that. And then consider how putting that heartbreak into action might actually be the way you find your purpose and find your people.